Welcome to Society Begins at Home, a podcast by the University of Trinidad and Tobago. I am Raleigh Dominic Hussein, and this series explores the role of the family in shaping individuals and ultimately our society. Today I'm joined by His Grace, Charles Jason Gordon, the Archbishop of Port of Spain. Reverend, welcome.
Thank you, Raleigh. Good to be here with you on set.
I am so happy and excited about today. You have much to do, and taking the time to come and talk about this very important topic today. I know we're definitely going to have a good time and we're going to share some good information.
Wonderful.
When you hear about anything in the country and we need some form of spiritual guidance, be it state or the regular man, we always go to our religious leaders, and you are definitely one. The Archbishop is one that we will call on.
Yeah.
For any kind of unrest or uncertainty, we always call our religious leaders. And being a local in the position, definitely it's like a service to state, a service to your country.
Yes. Yes, it
And
is.
that's what we're talking about today. You know, being a citizen. What do you think is a good citizen? And what are some of the qualities you believe a good citizen should display?
Oh, that's a huge question you're asking there. Well, a good citizen is someone who sees the positive, but not like Pollyanna, not seeing what is wrong, but wants to do something to make it better. A good citizen is someone who will not just simply jump into the barrage of negativity about the place, about this, because that fetish to the negative ended up on a hashtag, not a real country.
Not a real, yes.
TNT, not a real country.
Not a real place.
Not a real place.
Yes.
And that, to me, is the absolute opposite of a good citizen. Because what that plays into is a very old colonial mindset. Because, of course, this is not a real place, because the really real is never here. The really real is where the decisions were made, and it was never here. It was somewhere else. And that old colonial metaphysics, if you would like, or mindset, really sets a way of thinking that we have not moved past, which means that we have not yet become citizens. We have not yet taken responsibility for the place. We have not yet recognized this place has to be real, is the only place I have to go. Because once I believe there's somewhere else I could go, then here's not real, and it's not a real place. And so a good citizen is one who recognizes not only is this a real place, it's the only place I have to go, and therefore I have to do something every day to make this place a better place.
I think the responsibility that we have to ensure that we are courteous, we are friendly, we help somebody as we pass along.
Yes.
You know?
The little things that our grandmothers used to teach us long back in the day, that somehow we've been losing them as we have come forward. And I think it starts with the very little things, how you greet somebody, how you speak to another person, how you speak about the country, how you speak about people. It starts with those little things.
That's important. So tell me, what role should home play in helping the family members develop this good citizenship?
You know, I believe the family is a load-bearing wall of civilization.
Tell me about that.
So if in this building the load-bearing wall moved, what would happen?
There will be some collapse.
The whole building will collapse.
Yes.
And the family is a load-bearing wall of civilization.
Yes.
If the family goes, so the civilization goes with it. And I think a lot of the shifts in civilization that we are seeing is because the family has been going, the civilization is going with it. So from my perspective, great citizenship starts in the family. Where do you learn love? Where do you learn respect? Where do you learn that everybody must be treated with respect? Where do you learn that even when people have hurt you, we must always forgive? Where do you learn that we are different, but we are all equal? and we're all part of one family. Everything we need for great citizenship is being taught in the family, or should be taught in the family, just as a matter of course on a daily basis of interaction. In the Caribbean family, it was not a nuclear family in the way a mother, father, and children.
Extended.
Or now is a
somewhat,
mother,
yes.
father, one child, a dog, and a cat. It was an extended family with an unmarried aunt and unmarried uncle who were part of the family that provided parenting for the children.
And that's important.
But they also provided economic stability, because if one wasn't working, the other one was working.
Yes.
So, and who wasn't working was parenting.
Right.
So the family actually had a lot of resources emotionally because they had this intergenerational family structure. And so the child had different adults that they got different things from, and they learned how to be a child and how to be an adult by looking at the different adults and how they interacted with each other. And when that was in place, then good citizenship was in place, because the child learned that even when things were short, uncle would have something and contribute, and auntie would, and nobody held back, everybody gave.
What are some practical or concrete actions you would suggest to help parents and guardians today overcome these challenges?
You know, the modern parent is at a complete disadvantage. Okay?
I don't think they want to hear that, you know.
No, they are at a complete disadvantage.
And why would you say that?
In 2006, the world changed in a fundamental way. Once Steve Jobs designed and manufactured and sold the iPhone, everything changed.
I'm hiding my phone now.
Well, whether you now have an iPhone, a Galaxy, you all have a phone that resembled the iPhone that was created first. That changed how phones work. And that put into the hands of every child the entire world. Whereas back in the 1940s or 30s, the family, the church, and the school had about 70% influence over a child. When you think about it, back in the 30s, the family, the school, and the church had about 70% or 80% influence over the way a child saw life. Today, the family, the school, and the church has a very small percentage of influence over a child.
Wow.
So something has ruptured that cannot be changed. The genie came out of the bottle, and we keep trying to stuff it back in, but it can't be stuffed back in. So the first thing we all have to understand, and I think we've not caught up to this as yet, is that digital literacy has to become in every a mainstay of every curriculum, in every institution, at every level of the society. We have not caught up with the influence over a child. And the school, the family, and the church have been losing influence over the last 70, 80, 90 years. And because we've been losing influence on the child culture has been now more and more independent of the parental thoughts. Now children are independent in their thinking, in their desires, and in their consumer. They are a consumer. And many times they make the decisions for the family of where things are consumed. Come back to digital literacy. If we don't teach our children how to understand, to read the digital images, and to filter the value system, what is happening to us is the value system from the worst part of the digital is actually what is bringing up our children. Because many of our parents are using the digital as a babysitter.
Just as back in the 70s and the 80s, the TV was the babysitter.
But then we would be looking at Electric Company and Sesame Street. So at least they were educational.
Right.
When I came home from school, Sesame Street was on.
Yes.
It was followed by Electric Company.
Mhm.
So we got a little TV time, but it
Yes.
was all educational.
Yes.
Now the TV time is not educational. It's something different.
It's the whole World Wide Web.
And it's no longer, and I mean, again, I learned this 15 years ago from my niece and nephews. They're not onto the television. Everything they look at now is on the screen.
Yes.
And so they have in their hands a most powerful tool. And that tool does not always keep in sync with the values of the family and the values of good citizenship and the values of the society. And so the parenting now is far more crucial. This dopamine rush is actually destructive to character. Because what is it doing? We don't think deeply anymore.
No.
We are being amused to death.
Yes.
And because we are being amused to death, we're not thinking big thoughts, we're not thinking deep thoughts. And therefore, our society is getting derailed by people who are not thinking deeply and not thinking big. And therefore, we're just satisfying immediate pragmatic needs. And we don't have big thinkers anymore with vision to take us where we need to go.
Tell me, what is the role of the church in helping young people develop that reasoning skills, develop that critical thinking, that attitude for good citizenship?
So we have played a role for a long time in this society. I was in a meeting with education not too long ago, and I said to the people, and it was part of the government was there, long before there was a government of Trinidad and Tobago, we've been educating children in Trinidad and Tobago, long before.
That's true.
And if you go into any rural village, you'll find out one of our schools.
Yes.
And that's because we understood from very early on, if education was not available to every child, then we're going to have lots of kids who are being left behind. And so just even what we do in education is a very important part of helping to train good citizens. I believe a good citizen is a person who has a conscience, a clear conscience, and learns how to live by their conscience, which means that a good citizen is somebody who has a deep faith. And there's a connection between deep faith and citizenship. I believe that. And therefore, to form a child in the ways of God is to form a child in the ways of conscience, is to form a child to be a good citizen. Because if a child is formed in the ways of God and conscience, then when they're in a position of influence, they wouldn't want to take a bribe to get for themselves. They would do the noble thing and stand up for what is good for the country. And they would also be the kind of person that would respect every creed and race and ensure that people get what they deserve when they come into places of influence. Part of the challenge we have is many of the people who have come into places of influence, although they've been practicing religion, they have not had great conscience and therefore have not been great stewards of the patrimony of the society for the common good of the society.
Yes.
They've used it for themselves, for their friends, for their tribe, for their people. But a great citizen formed has a conscience and lives in a way that will not compromise their soul. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and to lose his soul, Jesus tells us. And if that is part of the formation, then we will have a society where people do the right thing because it is right and respect the common good because it is what will satisfy justice for everyone and not just me get for what I want.
It's quite interesting, and understanding the role of education. People feel it's just maths and English, you're going to learn an arithmetic.
What they call the hidden curriculum is the real curriculum.
It is, indeed.
Everything you teach in what you think is the real curriculum, a child can find that on ChatGPT tomorrow morning. Everything.
Click, click.
And just once they understand what the right questions to ask, they will get that information coming at them at full force.
Of course.
What they cannot get anywhere right now is what was called the hidden curriculum.
Yes.
Values, character, self-esteem, learning to treat other people right,
That's right.
conscience, all these other parts of what was called the hidden curriculum. I'm telling my schools that must be the curriculum. Send them
Critical.
with the right questions, ChatGPT, they'll get their answers on
Critical.
everything else. So right now we're about to launch Season of Creation. And that's a program we do in our schools to teach our schools that you must value creation, you must care for creation, and that's part of your moral obligation.
Wonderful.
And a good citizen is also a good steward of the creation.
Oh, wow.
A second part in this, we've just opened a school in Sealots.
Okay.
And Sealots is one of the most neglected communities in East Port of Spain. And we opened this school there, and it's a large school. And it's a special educational school. It's going to do all kinds of amazing things.
Wonderful.
But we opened it there because a good citizen must always care for the least in the society. A good citizen must have a heart for the marginalized, for the forgotten, for those who cannot speak for themselves.
And even Christ said that when he do to the least
I was
of my
hungry,
brethren.
I was naked, I was sick, I was in prison. You either did or you didn't do
not.
for me.
Yes.
And so part of what the role of a church is in ensuring that the least in the society, because that's what Christ asks us to do.
Yes.
And what Christ asks us to do is what a good citizen should be doing. Caring for those who cannot care for themselves. And not just doing it, but also modeling it.
Yes.
So that others will be inspired by that to
And I
do
think
likewise.
it's also that builds
Yes.
character,
Yes.
that shows them how to do things,
Yes.
how to help,
Yes.
you know, and helps them to fulfill their
Correct.
obligations as a citizen, right?
And I think if every citizen just asks themselves, what can I do for someone who is in need that I know?
Oh,
Let's not even go, and many of us have members of our family who are in need. What can I do for one person
yes.
that is in need that I know? I think the country would lift significantly.
I think so too.
And it's not about pouring the money out. It's about the children making bad choices. How do you mentor a child that is not getting good parental supervision right now? How do you influence a child to want better for themselves?
That's quite a challenge, because, you know, some parents might say, don't interfere with my child, don't tell me how to, you know, they may not be open to criticisms,
Yeah.
right? We would hear many mothers coming on if their children, you know, did something wrong in the media, and they say he was a good boy, and
We had a whole calypso on that this year.
yes, we have been having dialogue on that
A
all
whole
the time.
calypso. The key component was that the parents were so young and so immature that their parenting of the child was terrible in the community.
Oh,
So we started cricket, football, dance, video, chess, anything that any child wanted to do. And my brief to the instructors, here are two things you must do. First, that child must experience what excellence in the discipline looks like and want to be excellent in it. But second, you have to be a parent to this child, and you have to teach them how to delay gratification, how to curb desire, and how to strive for excellence. Your first role is to be a parent to the child.
so is it that your parish at that point helped parents mentor them on what these lessons should be?
So the children, and then back in those days, we had a cyber cafe, which nobody in Gonzales had access to internet. And we charged $1 for an hour, which and in those days, it was $6 and $7 downtown.
Yes.
But the children wanted to come,
Right.
and we parented them.
Okay.
And then we pulled the parents in and did parenting classes with the parents also. But what the child got was a different experience of being parented. And then we did our after-school program, and many of those children that were failing school went into 5 and 7 year schools and did very well after.
So you're saying that the church plays a role as an institution?
Absolutely. In the Catholic Church, one of our deep value systems is called authentic integral human development. It is the development of each person, of every person, of every dimension of the human person. So that is the development of mind, of body, of spirit, of emotions. Those are the 4 dimensions of the human person. But it's the development of each person, which means that each person we have to help to develop as much as they can. But it is of every person. So I can't choose to develop you and not somebody else. By this value system, our education is not just about the mind. It's really about the development of the whole person, which is really the foundation for good citizen.
What are some of the success stories you have enjoyed?
After Mass, I was talking with different, and this grandmother came with her son and said, you know, oh God, pray for this boy for me now. Now, you know, when a grandmother say that, you know there's trouble. There's just trouble. So I prayed for him, but I said, okay, I need him for 5 minutes. And I walked away with him, and we just started a conversation. We had a really great conversation. And there were things stirring inside of him that he needed resolving, and we did all that. And when I came back to Granny with the boy, by then Mommy was there, and they were in shock that he talked to me for so long, because he don't talk.
Wow.
Sometimes what a child needs is an adult not judging them. An adult looking at them with eyes of love and believing that they're better than everybody else is telling them, and calling that forth from them. Sometimes that's just what a child needs.
Sometimes just to listen to them, you know.
Exactly. And sometimes to listen, you just have to prompt with the right question to give them, because they have not been socialized to conversation. Everybody now grab their food and in their own,
go to the room,
and nobody's having conversations
on
anymore.
the phone.
And this is where the digital literacy I'm talking about. That no, dinner time is not for phones. There's a basket, put all the phones there, including daddy and mommy. Put your phones and let's have a meal together. Let's have a conversation together. What has happened is nothing has prepared us for the digital incursion in our life, and what that has done to change the formation structures that families had before. And we have not understood what it has done to erode those and what we need to do now to rebuild those.
How can a young person who are experiencing challenges, how can they get help from the church?
So, you know, the simple and most direct, speak to one of the leaders in the church, speak to your pastor, speak to your priest, speak to your catechist, speak to your imam, speak to and I think children have to now reach out in a way that they didn't before. Now, when I go, like on the weekend, I spoke to a number of young people. And at the end, one of the fathers asked me, tell me what you and my son talked about now. I just smiled. I said, why don't you have a conversation with your son? Well, he don't talk. Well, he don't talk or you don't talk. We need to give children opportunity. And I think the leaders have to now see it as our responsibility to give our children opportunity to have open conversation about things that they are most interested in or things that are most concerning to them.
What would you tell a young person if they say, Your Grace, I want to be a good Trinbagonian. How can I be a good Trinbagonian? What would be your advice to them?
I would say start today. Start today. Just do one thing today that makes you a better citizen. Be courteous, be kind to somebody, help somebody out, help somebody who doesn't have what they need, do your schoolwork better, be more clear in terms of your commitment to God and your commitment to your church. Be clearer in terms of where you see where you want to go, but even clearer than that, what God is asking of your life. Every one of us has a vocation, and every one of us has a call on our life from God. And we become the best we can ever become when we're living our vocation. And if a child can find that pathway to God's call, then that child will be a great citizen. because they'll be responding from inside out, and not because rules and regulations are telling them they must do this. It will be coming from inside. And I really believe this generation needs deeper prayer, deeper silence, more time without the devices, more time in human contact and conversation with each other, and being able to discover the joy of being a human being and growing in that joy. But I would say small steps, incremental steps, every single day is the way to become a great citizen.
We have been talking so much about, parenting and young people. I just want to shift focus on young men. And we've been told, and we are seeing more and more underperformance by young men. A lot of young men going astray. How can we reach our young men and help them become better, more productive in society, and really stand up to the challenge of being role model men?
I think in UTT you would know most of your students are women. Most.
Quite a bit, yes.
When you start at 5 years old in a school, who's teaching you?
Most times women, yes.
At home, who's there? Most times women. It's possible for a young boy to grow up through the whole system and never meet a male authority figure in his life.
Very, very, very possible.
And boys get masculinity by osmosis, by being around other men. The women are taking over scouts, football, and all kinds of other things too. So the normal spaces where guys who comes from a family with only women meet men, those spaces are becoming less and less for him. That's a challenge, because a man becomes a man by seeing what a man does. And he needs to see it, he needs to be next to it. And then some of the men that they have access to are carrying them in the wrong direction. So where do they find these men? In the gangs. So where are they attracted? They hunger for masculine energy. And if they're finding it in the gangs, that's where they go. And then they go down the wrong road.
Yeah.
I think we have to recognize there's a multiple or a tsunami of crisis around masculinity. The feminine has become really strong and assertive, but we've always had that in the Caribbean. But they've always left room for the male. But when a 5-year-old is being told, boy, be quiet, why can't you be like Sally? You can't see Sally is quiet, why can't you be quiet? He can't. His brain is wired differently from hers.
Right.
And at 6, 7, 8, and 9 years old, he's learning one thing, that he's an imperfect human being because he's not a woman. That's the unconscious message, because Sally could take concentration for 25 minutes an hour. He can't for more than 10 to 15 minutes. So he is an imperfect human being because he's a man or because he's a boy. We're not understanding the psychology of the boy at 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and we are moving them away from excellence or desiring excellence in education. And if that's what they do mainly and what they're rewarded for, then when a boy cannot be excellent at something, what he does is he opts out of it. Many of the gang leaders I worked with had learning difficulties. They learned to be gang leaders in the school because they were put out of class and they were constantly disrupting. And they learned how to lead by being bad.
Interesting.
I think the healthy men have to be more present to the young men who are in need of mentoring. I think we need a lot more men in the classrooms in this country.
I'm sure we can go on and on. But indeed, we have had some interesting conversations here with His Grace, and we will continue to have more and more discussions, because I think we need to ventilate things. We need to chart a way forward as it relates to our families and the role that we play in building our nation. So, Father, it was lovely having you here, and we are indeed happy to invite you at another time to go into real meat of the matter.
Thank you very much for a
So
very
thank
great
you very
conversation.
much for joining us on this episode of Society Begins at Home. I'm your host, Raleigh Dominic Hussein, thanking you so much for joining us. And stay tuned, we'll have another session for you in just a bit.